What if I told you that the more you chase something, the further it runs? That the harder you try, the more life slips through your fingers? It's a paradox, and it's true. You've been taught that to get what you want, you have to work harder, push harder, grind harder. But what if that's the lie? What if that relentless need for control is exactly what's blocking you from the life you want? Think about it. How many times have you wanted something so badly? Love, success, respect, and the more you obsessed over it, the more anxious, tired, and lost you felt. This video isn't going to tell you to stop trying. It's going to show you something more powerful: the art of non-attachment. The philosophical truth that when you stop trying to control everything, you gain real control. This is the paradox of Stoic power. Act without obsession, move without neediness, create without demanding a result. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't hope that events will turn out the way you want them to. Welcome events in whatever way they happen." That's not weakness, that's supreme strength. Because when you let go of the need to force outcomes, you unlock something much greater: clarity, calm, and yes, results. This isn't about being passive. This is about being powerful without being possessive. Today, you're going to discover why relaxing isn't giving up. It's aligning yourself with reality. Why true focus only comes when you're not desperate for the outcome. And why the life you want comes to you when you finally stop chasing it. Welcome to the paradox of control. You've been taught that if you're not in control, you're weak. That if you don't plan every detail, obsess over every outcome, grab life by the throat, you'll lose. But here's the truth. That desperate need for control is what's making you miserable. You think you're managing life, but it's managing you. You schedule, you strategize, you stress, and still nothing goes according to plan. Why? Because life isn't a system you control. It's a flow you join. And the more you try to hold it tighter, the more you suffer. Control is an illusion, and chasing it only creates anxiety, tension, and burnout. You wake up already behind. You try to optimize every hour of your day, every conversation, every move. But what you're really doing is trying to fight reality itself. And reality doesn't care how hard you try to bend it. You want love, so you chase it and push it away. You want success, so you force it and lose your joy. You want peace, but cling to a mind that never rests. And it's not your fault. This is how modern life trained you. Hustle harder, never slow down, always plan, never pause. But here's what nobody tells you. Control is a form of fear. You're not trying to master life. You're afraid of letting it happen. You don't trust it. You don't trust yourself. And that distrust shows up as overthinking, overplanning, overworking. The truth is this: real power doesn't scream. It doesn't chase. Real power is grounded, present, and unbothered. And if that sounds unfamiliar to you, it's because we've forgotten what it feels like to be free, to let go, to move without fear of losing. And that's exactly what the Stoics understood centuries ago. The Stoics taught one of the most powerful truths in philosophy. You cannot control what happens, but you can control how you respond. Epictetus called it the dichotomy of control, the idea that there are only two categories in life: what's up to you and what isn't. And most of us spend our time suffering in the second category. We obsess over other people's opinions, outcomes, timing, fate, things completely outside our hands. And in that obsession, we lose ourselves. But the Stoic looks at life differently. He says, if it's not within me, It's not mine to hold. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That isn't passivity. That's focus. It's not giving up, it's waking up. Because when you stop fighting what you can't change, you reclaim the only thing you ever had: yourself, your mind, your intentions, your character. And that's where freedom begins. A Stoic doesn't depend on outcomes for his peace. He depends on himself. His focus isn't on winning, it's on showing up with clarity and calm. In modern terms, we'd call this detachment, but the Stoics knew it as strength. They lived among chaos, empires rising and falling, plagues, war, death, and yet their inner world stayed still. Why? Because they didn't tie their peace to things they couldn't command. And neither should you. That's why the next step in this journey isn't to do more, it's to do differently. To act from a place of centeredness, not craving. To let go of neediness while still showing up fully. That's Stoic control. And it starts with surrender. People think that letting go means giving up. They think if you're not chasing, pushing, fighting, you're being lazy. But that's not letting go. That's misunderstanding power. True letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the moment you realize that obsession isn't action, and clinging isn't commitment. In fact, some of the strongest moves you'll ever make are silent. You'll walk away, not because you're afraid, but because you're done exhausting yourself trying to control what isn't yours. Look at relationships. You chase someone, text first every time, overthink every word, and slowly lose yourself in the process. But the moment you detach, not out of anger, but out of clarity, something shifts. The power comes back to you. In your career, you've probably had moments where you pushed so hard for results that you started hating the work itself. But the most successful people learn to trust the process, not the deadlines. And in sports, every athlete knows if you're tense, you lose flow. You miss the shot. You're not sharp. But when you're relaxed, confident, detached from the outcome, you perform. Because you're present, letting go means you're still moving forward. You're just not dragging a heavy anchor with you. And here's the key. You don't have to force anything that's meant for you. The right people, the right path, the right timing, they don't need to be chased. They need to be met halfway by a version of you that's calm, focused, and not begging for validation. So no, letting go isn't giving up. It's giving yourself back. Isn't it strange how life rewards you when you stop clinging to it? You stop chasing love, and suddenly it finds you. You quit obsessing over money, and the opportunities start flowing. You stop trying to force creativity, and the best ideas come while you're taking a walk. It's a paradox, and yet it's everywhere. The moment you release your death grip on results, they start coming to you. Why? Because you're no longer operating from fear. You're acting from centeredness, and the world responds to that. Think of the entrepreneur who launches a business out of passion, not panic. It grows. Think of the artist who paints for joy, not for validation. The work touches people. Think of the person who stops texting every hour to get a response and suddenly gets one. This isn't spiritual wishful thinking. This is human psychology. People sense energy. The world feels when you're desperate, and it feels when you're grounded. And groundedness attracts. It creates space, and space allows things to flow to you, not from control, but from alignment. That's why the Stoics didn't just preach self-control. They embodied emotional freedom. They weren't obsessed with outcomes, but with presence. They didn't demand that life deliver exactly what they wanted. They prepared to face whatever came, and that made them unbreakable. The modern world has you hooked on force, on hustle, on clenched fists. But the ones who win, long term, they move with relaxed power, quiet confidence. They play the long game. And in that game, detachment is a weapon. So next time you feel yourself clinging to an outcome, ask, what if I trusted, just for a moment, that I'm exactly where I need to be? The world feels when you're desperate, and it feels when you're grounded. And groundedness attracts. It creates space, and space allows things to flow to you, not from control, but from alignment. That's why the Stoics didn't just preach self-control. They embodied emotional freedom. They weren't obsessed with outcomes, but with presence. They didn't demand that life deliver exactly what they wanted. They prepared to face whatever came, and that made them unbreakable. The modern world has you hooked on force, on hustle, on clenched fists. But the ones who win, long term, they move with relaxed power, quiet confidence. They play the long game, and in that game, detachment is a weapon. So next time you feel yourself clinging to an outcome, ask, what if I trusted, just for a moment, that I'm exactly where I need to be? You're taking your power back from the need to always be on. And when things don't go your way, which they won't, practice saying this to yourself: I did my part, now I trust. Trust doesn't mean you expect perfection. It means you're no longer attached to forcing it. Write in a journal, not just what you did, but what you tried to control that wasn't yours. Let it go. Track where your energy leaks, because it's usually where you're gripping the hardest. The more you build this muscle, the stronger your inner world becomes. And the stronger your inner world, the less you need the outer one to be perfect. Surrender isn't giving up. Showing up without fear. Don't confuse detachment with indifference. Stoicism isn't about sitting back and doing nothing. It's about showing up fully, but without chains. A Stoic doesn't let go of action. He lets go of neediness. You still make the call. You still write the book. You still go to the gym. Make the move. Take the risk. But you do it from strength, not from lack. You don't need a guarantee. You don't need everything to work out exactly right. You act because action is who you are, not because you're desperate for a certain result. This is what modern productivity culture misses. It teaches you to obsess over outcomes, to track every metric, to control every step. But the truth is, you can't force growth. You plant the seed. You don't scream at it to bloom. You show up every day without demanding that life rewards you on your timeline. And that's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you free. When you no longer need to win to feel worthy, you play the game differently. When you're no longer addicted to approval, you start speaking the truth. When you act without attachment, you move with power. And that power is silent, disciplined, and undeniable. The world feels it. You walk into a room, and people feel you're not here to be liked. You're here to be real. And that changes everything. So don't stop moving. Just stop begging. Act, commit, move forward. But do it with open hands, not clenched fists. This isn't surrender to the world. It's surrender to something deeper, your own inner strength. So here's the truth. You don't have to force life to make it beautiful. You don't have to chase every moment, grab every opportunity, or fix every outcome. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is step back, breathe, trust. You act, you show up, you do your part, and then you release. Because the paradox of control is this: when you let go, life opens up. When you surrender, you start to see clearly. When you're no longer gripping, you start receiving. And this isn't just philosophy. This is freedom. This is peace. This is power. So if this message resonates with you, don't just listen, live it. Start today. And if you want to walk this path with more clarity, strength, and stillness, you're in the right place. Subscribe, join us, and remember this. What you're searching for may arrive the moment you stop looking. Just relax, and everything you want will come.